I'm sure you all know about World War II, a war when Germany and other fascist powers united against a war against communist states and democratic states. This war was, however, outshone by its predecessor, World War I. World War I was not a war of ideologies, good versus evil, fascism versus democracy, as well more of a war versus aggressors versus defenders. For the Russians, who fought beside Democrats, was a very brutal monarchy. So the reason for this war most likely originated in Sarajevo, Bosnia, where Serbian nationalists assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. They wanted to become part of Serbia. This resulted in an ultimatum from Austria to Serbia. An ultimatum is a list of diplomatic demands from one country to another that, if not accepted, will result in war. After the ultimatum was issued, Austria mobilized its forces against Serbia. This caused the Serbian ally Russia to mobilize its forces against Austria, which in turn caused the Austrian ally Germany to mobilize its forces against both Russia and the Russian ally France. In July 28th, when the Serbians refused the ultimatum and Austria declared war, a global war started. This war was likely to expand, though, as the Western Front was very, very defended on the French side, and Germany needed a way to get to France, so they trespassed Belgium. England, or the UK, was obliged to defend Belgium via a treaty, and so they did. This caused England to enter the war both against Germany and Austria. However, the Central Powers were about to get another ally. Recently, in exchange for 2 ships, an admiral from Germany had been put in charge of the Ottoman Navy. The Ottoman Empire was a large empire spanning from Turkey, and when he was put in charge of the Ottoman Navy, against Ottoman command, he attacked the Russians in the Black Sea. This dragged the Ottoman Empire unwillingly headfirst into the Great War. The Germans were winning very heavily against the Russians, and this sparked a civil war in Russia. A civil war that would cause the rise of communism in Europe for almost a century. This civil war knocked Russia out of the war and allowed Germany to focus the rest of its resources onto the front with France. Later into the war, however, Italy joined. Italy was ill prepared for this war and was more of a liability, but it was still something that Austria had to pay attention to. In the early stages of the war, the Italians made no progress, but later on they started to gain momentum as the Central Powers lost their momentum. The Treaty of Versailles was a very brutal treaty for the Central Powers. Germany would lose Alsace and cede it to France, and Poland would be released from both Russia and Germany. But Austria suffered probably the most, with Czechoslovakia being released from Bohemia and part of Hungary, Hungary's size being reduced, Yugoslavia being formed after Slavic nations, and Austria being diminished to just Austria. Finally, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was to be formed into Turkey, Iraq, Syria, occupied by France, and Saudi Arabia. The Treaty of Versailles allowed Hitler to rise to power and seek revenge against the French and the Polish and many others. This caused World War II and many of the subsequent wars after World War II. So World War I was very influential on history, and without it, it would have been crazy what could have happened.